Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, depending on where you're sitting down at. Hope you're having a good experience. So here it is Sunday again. Excuse me. So I would like to talk about the me illusion, the unreality of the self-reference that we continually are trapped by, relatively supported by, of course. Me illusion. And I had a few things show up. Usually I just take off and wing it, but in this case, some things I want to read some of this so you can perhaps I feel like I might forget a few things, which I know I'll forget a few things if I don't read this. So let's do it this way. I'll read a little bit and then I'll receive some questions from you. We are caught by this as ourselves, ego, the identity, the personhood, the assumptions, the ideas about ourselves, who we are as separate identity, the actual description of our abilities, pluses and minuses, and how we function, how we succeed, how we fail. The me feeling as our threatened or our protected self-image at some actual point. We have to look at that. Maybe we don't. Maybe you can avoid that the rest of your life with the help of grasping, rejecting, shutting down. Those three will help you avoid the fundamental reality of who you are. You can be a pretend being forever. Well, maybe not forever. Maybe half a century, maybe longer. As I've said before, that's not wrong. It's just circular, and you don't get to your ultimate understanding of who you are and what this is. This and that, this and that, this and that, all the that's out there and this particular personhood. Receive the otherness, the thatness out there in the world, other people, ideas, cultures, forms, mores, codes of ethics, beliefs, codes of conduct are that. When those are taken up as right and wrong, you can create a strong fortress of ego, a stronghold. The Tibetan word for that is Dzong, D-Z-O-N-G is the romanization of that. Dzong. Trungpa Rinpoche created a community at Boulder, Colorado that he called Karma Dzong, Action Fortress. I don't know if it's still there or not. You can create a strong fortress of ego protected by thoughts and emotions and create a battle of ego where the battle, the actual fortress, becomes your ideas, your opinions, your conclusions, and your judgments that you use to protect yourself as a human form, a living form. Yet it only lasts for a while. It is impermanent. Eventually, you will lose face. Eventually, you will lose that protection. You'll lose face. It might show up as remorse or embarrassment or shame or any of the other number of kinds of names that are applied to this kind of loss, embarrassment. You'll have the face of your beliefs, your opinions, judgments, and your conclusions. Listen closely. If that's what you're here for, listen to this. If you don't do this yourself, if you don't see it yourself, eventually the very nature of dependent origination, pratyeka samutpada, will bring you right into looking at. You will have to look at this. But the circumstances under which you may have to look at it may be the circumstances where you no longer have a physical form, because then you will return to your true nature, consciousness only. But if you've not found out what this is, when you return, you'll take all the detritus that you've avoided this in this life back, and you'll take those forms into the intermediate state. And what do you have then? Another lifetime? Maybe not so good, maybe better. But who's window shopping? You'll have the face of your beliefs, your opinions, judgments, and your conclusions rubbed right into the ultimate reality, whether by the truth, just the truth, or the teachings of the Buddha's Dharma, the teachings of anyone that is a true teaching. It doesn't even have to be Buddhism. It could be the indigenous people's truth. It could be shaman. Could be, well, I can name a few other things, but I'll stop there. Or even by the teacher, if you have one, or by death itself, which you certainly will have one. Meeting the true teacher is like meeting your death way ahead of time. If you're open to it. If you're not, you might collapse and return back into the cage of your beliefs, your opinions, and retain your face, and then find other people to support you. Very painful to watch that, quite embarrassing. It's especially embarrassing when that kind of thing presents itself as concern and love and consideration and protection. It actually has a horrible odor to it. Not everyone can smell that because people are busy doing what? Plugging their nose, plugging their ears, closing their eyes, and just buying into their ideas, their beliefs, their judgments, their conclusions, and their opinions. There are no such thing. Opinions are always incorrect. So the last thing I wrote down here is you must realize your true nature, which is consciousness only, either by actually being able to have some kind of bodhicitta, relative or ultimate, where you really see that there's something you need to see about this, not just something you need to build or a color you need to select to paint your living room. You really need to see this. But if you don't feel that way, if you don't think that way, if you're not inspired to do that, please do something else. You have my blessing. Good luck to you. I say it to everyone. Do whatever you need to do with your life. Live your life. There's no way you can make any mistakes because there is no circularity. That's an illusion. You are headed right into the ditch in the dark unless you see what that is, and then you'll see that it's nothing but light. I hope this is inspiring to you. If it's not, then okay, it's not. But if it is, you still have a lot of work to do. You can't walk on inspiration. You have to see the inspiration, and then you have to intend to go as deeply into that as you can until there isn't anything else to see but this. You can do that. It's possible. Very possible. Not guaranteed. That's relative stuff. We don't do that. I'm happy to receive your questions if you have them.
You bowing. How do we, as you're saying in the beginning, we project this image that we're often not even aware we're doing that,
Yeah.
that it's coming out of that. How can we see that other than on a cushion when it's in?
I think it's just a matter of intention and just we all have different karma. We all get here with different structures behind us called causes and conditions, and that show up as the image of this and that. This self, somebody's here, and we have our children, their little thises, and then we try to show them, help them, support them, guide them. Probably not doing such a good job from what we've all seen. Do the best we can. The situation with your offspring, it's just been challenging for you. So I don't want to go into that, it's personal stuff, but I'm saying you don't know who's going to show up. And so to come back to your question is just train your mind. The causes and conditions that show up as you now or Carol. There are certain kind of structures there that are helpful, so-called good karma, some kind of structures that are difficult, sometimes called bad karma. We all know about those. We talk about this common chatter among the cultural thing is good and bad karma, right and wrong, should be and shouldn't be. Don't do that because this will happen. So the very best thing you can do is sit still in the midst of the motions, in the midst of the chaos, in the midst of the circularity. Find some time to sit down, sit symmetrical. You have a little bit of say-so about that. Or sit asymmetrical if your back hurts. Important thing about there's the stillness part, which I talked about, I think yesterday at the retreat, which I don't think that was anywhere on YouTube, was it? No. So nobody was able to hear that really wonderful talk. Was it a wonderful talk? There you have it. Somebody judging me again. So important, it's so important. Sit still, sit symmetrical. And whatever happens, once you take up this position of stillness, whatever happens is exactly, precisely what you need to see. And then you have to see what comes next, which is what you add to it, what you think about it, your evaluation of it, or trying to stop it, or trying to blame something, or blame yourself, or do anything but receive it. It has to be received directly. If you do that, eventually that training that you're doing, reconditioning yourself to just receive directly with all the six sense fields, including the mind, just receive those without comment, without any elaboration, without leaving what's arising for even giving it a name. Eventually you'll be able to see everything without any idea what it is, but it will be vivid, it will be present, and it will have incredibly amazing contours and silhouettes, and so it'll just be incredible. But you won't know what it is, but you won't need to, because you realize that what you're looking at, you are. You actually are that. Don't ignore that. Don't miss your life. Don't live for the next 20, 30, 40 years or whatever you have, just constantly covering everything up with this, a loaf of bread, and going to the store and criticizing the neighbors and thinking bad thoughts. And you think, well, I should be thinking that terrible thing because after all, she's suffering too, just because she said this and this and this. Don't spend your whole life doing that. Spend some time, sit down, hold still, and don't miss your life, because it's being delivered to you every moment in your mind stream. Your opportunity to walk the path is there. Your inspiration is right in front of you. It may not always show up as very comfortable. Go ahead.
You're divine. When you're talking about good and bad karma, it seems like you need some bad karma just to stay on the path. If you don't have any challenges.
I don't have any. No, I know that, but no challenges. But yes, when you say need, I'm saying that you're talking about in a relative way. Of course, you need some positive, negative, neutral, you need night and day, you need the contrast. What is it you're asking about or commenting on?
I'm wondering if the difficulties that we experience are maybe our Dharma gates to be able to see our true nature, but more so than having feeling good and everything is great.
If I follow what you're asking about, I would say yes. Did I ask the question that you thought that you asked? Or did you ask the question I thought you answered? Did I answer the question that you thought you asked?
You did, yes.
All right. That's subtle. Next question? No?
Not yet. Thank you.
Anyone else in here? Yes.
Wonder bowing, is that what Chogyam Trungpa Rinpoche was talking about when he said that when he calls the Trungpa and the Kagyu lineage a mishap lineage?
I think he was trying to refer to the negativity that needs to be seen as part of the path, not something that shouldn't be happening. And that negativity can show up in any kind of patterning or any way with any kind of texture or shape. It's even when other Kagyu monks, when I remember this way back in the 70s, when other monks will say, what did Trungpa mean? Or they probably referred to him as Rinpoche. What did Trungpa Rinpoche mean when he referred to the Kagyu lineage as a mishap lineage? And many of them said, I don't know what he meant by that. But he knew what he meant, and I knew I didn't know at the time, but I certainly do now. It just means there's nothing separate from anything else, but you have to emphasize the negativity of something. Otherwise, when the negativity arises in a so-called holy environment, then you think something's wrong rather than saying, no, not wrong. This needs to be received here. Don't throw out your evil children. Every child is completely sacred. We know what this is. We've experienced this in our own little community over the last 10 or 15 years. It's just horribly painful to see people destroy what is sacred to them. It's just they don't know it's sacred because it's too frightening. It's too frightening to see that there are not two things anywhere, because that's threatening to what that part of the identity that most people cannot see. And that's insane self-centeredness that we try to protect from mishap lineage. It's just another way of saying not to the sacred and the holy, or the sacred and the profane, not to, not the same, but not to. More?
Wonder about, so then how can we call anything out, or do we not call anything out that is what we would say is clearly wrong?
It's situational. There are times when you might need to do that, but when you call it out, that's all you do. You don't call it out and then chatter at it. Because when you call it out, if you have any mind training at all, you're going to immediately see that you don't know what you're talking about. And if you don't feel like you don't know what you're talking about, you're going to start grabbing for evidence to make sure that you're not wrong, that you're not embarrassed 3 months from now when you have to look back and say, I shouldn't have said that, done that. Well, yes, I should, because of this, because of that. We keep looking for evidence to reinforce that because of what? Fear. And what is threatened? The illusion of a separate self, the me feeling. It's not threatened. If you realize it, the war is over. This doesn't mean that people chase you or pick at you or fight you or threaten you. You aren't going to have negative feelings about it. It's unlikely you're going to lock and load, but it's going to be uncomfortable because you're a living being, and the First Noble Truth says life is suffering. It just could be extra at times. That's too much suffering. Thank you very much. So it just could be difficult, but we have to try to, go ahead, please. You have a question?
What about, well, just in that vein, that there are so many people that are not wanting to be associated with any place that is being blamed. And so, what do you do when things are too much? It's too much embarrassment, too much pain, too much.
I understand your question, but you've got a wide question there, which is there's a lot of singularities there that are kind of covered over about what do we do when. So those are all so specific, so individual that, as you've heard me say a few times, I'll say now, less is better. Don't do anything. Continue to receive everything you can, including the crap that comes at us or anybody. Just continue to receive it. If you're doing that, then and you're training your mind to see clearly what is arising, then when you are in what's sometimes referred to as post-meditation, you see the texture, the structure of that before you begin to blame it or shove it away or say it's bad or shouldn't be happening and try to judge it. So you try to see it as, shall we say, more pure, immediate state of what it is. You see the dependent origination in it, which is without blame, without cause and effect. It's an illusion. Go ahead.
I want to buy just more on that same, if I
Yes.
can see the validity of the need for distance and during a period of listening.
Yes.
So the question is always, how do you support that without validating that?
Just receive. Listen. You don't have to go in and do too much by the way of interrogating or inquiring, but you could listen some. But you're not going to get results in 3 weeks or 3 months or maybe even 3 years. You may never get results. But it's not about what happens. It's about your intention. Because what happens is so very, very complicated. The causes and conditions that are behind anyone's negativity that is being triggered by anything that frightens them, which is what happens. People get frightened, and all the negativity they've been able to hold down for the last 30 years or 20 years or 18 years starts to spring forth and wants some kind of to be acknowledged. This is why I'm feeling bad. It's because of you. When actually the causes and conditions that are showing up in that person's mind stream don't even have a position in time and space, because that's an illusion. So therefore, it's consciousness only. We've always been here. You just have a temporary, 60, 70 years or whatever it may be, to show up as a particular human being. In your case, a white woman living here in this particular century, in a particular dynamic with a particular mother, father, brothers, and so on. Just the particularity of it is very, very convincing. It just seems like we're somebody. We're real. We're here, and our society will give us a stronger reinforcement of the structure. This is why in ancient times, 2,500 years ago, when the Buddha began to see what this was, he had people who dedicated their lives to this, had monasteries. In ancient China, where they have big mountains, that monks went up to the mountains and just disappeared, maybe for the rest of their life, because the society is so convincing and demanding. The family life, leavers of home. Well, I don't think we have to leave home. It just might be really hard to do this right in the middle of your kitchen. I think it's a good idea. Kitchen sink. That's where it needs to be done. That comes from my teacher, Chogyam Trungpa, kitchen sink level. Right here, very pragmatic. Let's realize it right here. Not up on a mountaintop where we're away from all of the rules and regulations of society. Yes.
No Bowing, question on YouTube from John in Rhode Island. John Bowing, I've been attending some of your talks for a long time. I don't know the details what has recently transpired, but you, in quotes, seem affected by it over time. Why are you seeing in this way, in quotes?
Why am I seeing in this way?
Yes.
I don't know. You want to help me, John?
No Bowing, he's got more here.
I bet he does.
It seems you're threatened by what has happened as much as disappointed, but hasn't it arisen to help you, or you have arrived now to guide us handling such challenges?
Yeah, it sounds good. Appreciate your feedback. Sounds very good. Thank you. Thank you for pointing that out to me. Any further questions? Yes.
Wonderbine, it seems like there's so much fear just showing up in so many different places.
So you're agreeing with John that I'm afraid?
No, not in, I think everywhere, there's fear.
I see what you're saying.
And
Meant to be funny. Yes. Are you leaving forever?
No,
Okay.
And then, so I guess with your comment there, and John's comment, it seems like if fear is showing up, if disappointment is showing up
Yes.
in you,
Yes. Please continue. I hope you can ask a question where I can respond in such a way that'll be helpful. Because if it's a crummy question, it's probably going to be a crummy answer. No blame intended, of course.
Wonderbine, how do we look at that? How do we
So
receive
it's a
that?
it's a how question.
Yes.
Look at it directly, train your mind to see, train your mind, the consciousness that looks like somebody, train that to see what comes and goes without judging it, without leaving the fundamental truth of the teaching of dependent origination, which means that there are no separate things anywhere. Everything just shows up as an illusion. But if you watch the thoughts come and go, you see that this looks real, this looks painful, this looks disappointing, what I'm saying to you, and this is not something that goes away from the teachings of the Buddha's Dharma, it just means receive this. So if you receive that, there's no hidden thing behind it. Say, well, if you really receive disappointment, you won't be disappointed. No, you might be more disappointed. The disappointment does not need an ego to keep it running. Disappointment is dependently arisen. Ego is dependently arisen. They're both just masks, but they need to be received. It doesn't matter. I've sometimes said, I'll say now, it doesn't matter how you feel. You won't care how you feel. If you realize what this is, you won't care how you feel. You won't care what people think of you. I mean, that when I say you won't care, that doesn't mean you won't see that somebody really hates you and wants you to go away or disappear or wants to punish you, probably gonna happen. You become quite a good target in that sense. But you'll fundamentally have an understanding of it that it's dependently risen. This doesn't mean that somebody you really care about and been trying to help for many, many years. With their permission, they're saying, yes, please, teacher, help me. And suddenly they don't feel like you're helping them and they start to judge you and evaluate you rather than seeing that the stuff that is arising in their mind is the teaching. And I'm not blaming anybody for it. I'm just saying it's a difficult path. It's been going on for many, many, many centuries. We've been here forever. There are separate lifetimes. This is an illusion. There's only consciousness, which manifests as the separation of illusion. If you realize it, doesn't mean that you stop having a headache. It doesn't mean that you suddenly turn into a rainbow, like has sometimes been taught. Rainbows are something too. They just don't have any legs. Well, maybe they do. More, getting closer to what you want to know.
What is happening when you're expressing disappointment? Even though there's no one there, you
It's
tell us
just,
there's
it's
no one
just
there.
disappointment. Someone who is pretending to be awake or thinks they're awake is going to try to not have any negative thoughts or opinions or emotions. They're going to present as very peaceful, very kind, very loving, very genuine, and all this stuff. They look better. They look really good, and we want to look up to them, and we want to be like them. I'm not saying that there aren't some teachers that are very good at that. And part of it is just the very karma they came in here with. Doesn't involve a lot of lower realm material. Sometimes called good karma. I mean, come on. You know, there's lots of people on the football team. Not all of them are good at catching or passing or tackling, just to use a sports image. It's all the differentiation is there. Everyone is different. We need everybody. When I say we need, everybody's part of this community. That's why you have a community. Be respectful of other people's difficulties and their intelligence and their wisdom. Stop trying to modify everybody to live up to yours or mine or anybody's ideal. More about it if you have it.
What about it looks like ego showing up, disappointment and anger and frustration.
Yeah, so you think I'm egotistical? Go ahead. Don't hesitate. I won't.
It can look like that.
Okay, it looks like it. Is it?
I don't feel the emotions coming from you.
What are you pointing at then? Don't hold back. Let me know. What is it?
But the presentation, when the words feel like they are full of disappointment and frustration with the situation.
Okay. What's your question?
If it looks like ego, how is it not ego?
Because it's an illusion. And illusions, just because you see something as an illusion doesn't mean that its intensity goes away. I sometimes use the example of a movie, which is a really weak example because you already know that you're watching a movie that is scary and you go to the kitchen to get something to drink or you come back and you sit down and I've seen you do it. Something really difficult in a movie, which is unreal. You will look away from it. Why do you look away from it? It's unreal.
Very uncomfortable and
So it's
I can't
convincing.
stay there.
Huh?
It's very uncomfortable and I can't stay there.
You can't continue to look at it. So that's what I'm saying. It's real because it's painful, but you actually know that it's fundamentally unreal. You're actually turning away from an illusion, aren't you?
Yes.
Okay. That's what I'm saying. That area is for everyone here who's a meditator, anyone who's here on Zoom, train yourself to see the illusion. Don't run away from the illusion and don't add something on like a judgment on the illusion about somebody else's actions because everyone is in this illusion. Please be very respectful to people's awakening, their Buddha nature and their confusion, because those are not separate from each other. If you see it, you'll see it. You'll have complete, total, unconditional confidence about everything. Nothing can threaten you. Death can't threaten you. Nothing can threaten you because you know that who your true nature is just consciousness. You just happen to be rattling away about this or talking about that or running in circles or doing whatever or having an intense feeling about something. You don't stop being a human. You don't stop having positive, negative, neutral feelings just because you've awakened to your true nature. I'm not saying there aren't people that function as if you're going to feel a lot better if you awaken. You may feel worse. This is called compassion. Wisdom and compassion are not two separate things. Compassion is not a feeling about everything. It's seeing that you're not separate from the worst thing that you're looking at or from the most wonderful thing you're looking at, because it's not over there. There is no over there. That's gone. In the midst of knowing that you can't get from this room to the next room without walking through the illusion. But it's unreal. Don't believe anything I say. Well, maybe a little bit. Go ahead, Natsumi.
Natsumi bowing. Sometimes when I awaken from a dream, I want to know what's next, or I want to get back into a good dream or something like that and try to go back to sleep, but it doesn't work. And I'm wondering if there's anything analogous to that with our lives, and if attachments aren't seen through when death comes, is that like, do we try to go back into get more of the things that we're attached to?
We might. It could happen. It looks the contrast between life, which is this, and death, which is when the body goes away, looks so extreme. We're totally afraid of death, and people have a terrible fit when somebody close to them dies. When I say a fit, they get terrible, and that's just people have nervous breakdowns and all that when they lose a child or a partner or a relative or something, especially if it's out of the blue when they're really young or something. Horrible. Not saying it's not horrible, but it's an illusion. And I'm not here to take away anybody's feeling. When I say illusion, I'm not saying that you shouldn't feel terrible. Of course you should. You've just lost. You won't see that person again, at least for a while. So it's a very, very powerful situation is to be seen. But when this body that you're supposedly inhabiting as a consciousness, when this goes away, there won't be much, it won't change much. You'll see some change, but you'll notice the change you thought was going to come when you died. And I'm talking about what I'm looking at, not what I've been taught or what I'm thinking about, talking about having trained my mind for a number of years. I see this. I see what it is. That's what I teach out of. I don't have any knowledge about anything. Other than if you ask me questions, I'll respond with concepts. But what I'm seeing is this is not a concept I'm looking at. This is not separate. I'm looking at myself. I'm looking at myself. I'm looking at myself. I'm always looking. I'm never looking at something else. But since you think there's something else, I have to respond to you from how you think things are. In other words, ask me questions.
Natsumi bowing. I can't lucid dream. So when I'm in a dream, it just seems like things are happening, feelings are coming, actions are happening. Is there an ego there in the dream?
Well, I'm not in your dream. You're not in my dream, but we're both in the same dream. So I would say there's the self-centered, until you see that the self-centeredness is unreal, it will continue to sneak up on you because we don't really sit around and necessarily think, oh, I'm so egotistical. We can't really get a kind of a strong view of where that ego is or what it is, because it's part of the whole illusion. So it may come and may go, it may show up really strong at one point, and another time it might be, you might actually think you're the Buddha, which of course you are. People behind you are grinning. Now you're grinning. More about that? You have a specific question. The stronger you can tighten up the ask or the inquiry, the more direct I can respond to that.
I don't think I can right
Okay.
now. Thank you.
Very good. Thank you. Thank you. Naveed.
Navid bowing. I was wondering if there is any difference between the idea of me and the self. Um,
So the way you use the word the self, I'm assuming, making an assumption here that when you say self, you mean an identity, or do you mean
yes.
an invention that is somehow threatened by people's opinions or something? Is there some further understanding? Because there's different ways of looking at the self. There's some kind of transcendental self that's sometimes talked about, and I don't usually go in that direction. I'm not saying that isn't a direction that could be looked at or pursued. But the way I talk about it is let's start with at the beginning here, which is the me feeling. So I would say the self gets a little bit abstract. And so I would say my understanding and of how to work with anybody is to first find out who you are. Let's look at this me feeling and see this, and then you may begin to see that this out here is equally unreal. This is not, there's no solid being here. There's nothing to protect, nothing is threatened, no matter what happens out here. I'm not saying you might run out of a burning house, because the identification of the consciousness with the body is intense. We have feelings, we are this, the consciousness is this. It's not saying that we should ignore that or go to some kind of well, this is all illusion, so we don't have to worry about anything. No, you better worry. You should be very, very conscious of situations. Dependent origination is very powerful in its apparent singularity as an illusion. It's still very, fire is hot, water is wet or gets things wet. Earth is hard, the wind moves, very solid, not opinions. I mean, people can change that into an opinion, especially the people who are talking about there's no such thing as climate change.
Navi bowing.
Yes, sir.
I don't know if you ever use the word true self or maybe true identity, but I was wondering if there is such thing as true identity or an identity. There is pure.
There is. It's just not separate from anything else. Your true identity, your true identity, based on what I'm looking at, and I've been looking at for a while now, and endeavoring to help other people see this. I would like you to see not what I'm looking at, but what you're looking at. I would like you to see what you're looking at instead of what you think you're looking at. That's all I'm saying to you or to anybody who's still here or anybody who's left. It's the same message. Look at what is in front of you and stop adding, judging, throwing opinions at it. It's just consciousness only. If you look at someone's shoe sitting across the room, consciousness only. If you look back and try to find yourself, consciousness only. Consciousness is a word, only is a word, a singularity, pointing out the singularity of it. There's just consciousness. There isn't anything else. This is not something that this old man invented. It's something that's in all the teachings, Advaita teachings. It's in the Upanishads. It's in the Buddhist teaching. It's in it's all over the place. You can find it everywhere.
Navi bowing.
Yes, sir.
Is there a form of identity in consciousness only? Bowing.
If you realize you're consciousness only, then the identity you were born with, your ego, starts to just do whatever it wants to do because you realize you are an illusion, and your original understanding is your only consciousness, and you see how much suffering there is in the world, and you do what you can with permission. You don't interfere with someone. If somebody wants to live their life a certain way, it's an illusion. Let them live it. You don't have to. Nobody has to become a Buddhist. I don't care what you do. But if you are concerned about your life or your suffering or your difficulty, and you come to me and say, how does this look? What should I do? Then, and I know I have your permission, sometimes I can be fooled for a while. People are very convincing. But then I will say, you don't have to believe anything, but look at your mind and find out who you are. Find out it's mistaken identity is the primary mistaken identity is that we think we're a separate being, who's untrue. You can't find a singularity called identity. Even consciousness only isn't a strong enough singularity. It's singularly taught, but the understanding of it, if you understand it, you see that it can't see what it is because it's not separate from anything. So you're still consciousness. You're still a red tablecloth You're still a doorway that keeps sticking every time you go out and try to open it, it sticks. You're still that. You are that. You are what's happening to you. You are the emotions. You are the anger. You are the disappointment. You don't leave the disappointment for who caused your disappointment. If you do, then more circles, more confusion, more warfare, down through the centuries, war after war after war. It's just distressing. Are you leaving?
Prison.
You can lock you up.
I hope not.
So just tell them that you can't, that I don't want you to stay there. They can't lock you up. You have to come back.
That'll work.
Tell the inmates I said hello.
I will. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for doing that. Your dog goes into the prison on Sundays and teaches meditation. Good thing to do.
Thank you, Sokuzan.
Anything else, sir?
Not right now, thank you.
Thank you. Yes, sir.
Milka bowing. Question from Lazaro in Portugal.
Lazaro in Portugal. Have I heard from Lazaro before?
Once at least.
Once. Okay, this is the second time I've heard from him.
Could be more that I don't know about.
Her or him.
I'm guessing
Them or
him,
those.
but I don't know.
So no
Does
gender orientation.
the source of our illusions come from not incorporating the processes by which we arrive at our truth into the way in which we think about what we found?
I'm following what you're saying a little bit enough to know that the only response I can give to you that I think will be helpful to you is there is no source. That's what needs to be seen. You can track things down and find relative backups or sources for all kinds of things. But the fundamental thing that you want to know, as I understand your question, there's no source. You cannot find anything. The teaching that traditionally shows up in Buddhism down through the centuries is shunyata. Empty. Everything is empty of other. There is no otherness to it. And otherness is what? Source. There is no source. There's no source for the phoenix. Go ahead.
Milka bowing in his follow-up. I'm guessing their follow-up question is, if not, what is relative truth relative to?
Itself. It's relative to itself. But if you see that, then you see that it's not separate from anything, and you see that it's consciousness only. You're coming at me with concepts. I'm responding to you with concepts, but what I'm pointing at is beyond concepts. At the same time, it's beyond concepts. It's not separate from them. There's not a separate thing anywhere. This voice, your eardrum moving as you hear this over this amazing technology that takes this voice clear across the ocean.
Mhm.
Not separate, not the same. We want some kind of damn reference point, and we'll murder people. Well, won't do that, but some people will actually hurt other people in order to have a reference point. They're that desperate. They're that terrified. People who are really terrified do not know it because they are successful at using relative truth to cover it up. If you look around you, you can probably spot the people who have no idea how miserable they are because they're busy covering it up. Whereas the people who are really, really upset are very, 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 very vulnerable. I mean, they haven't, nothing works for them. They can't cover it up. Drugs don't work. Nothing works. They get worse and worse and worse. And this is what happens if you're on the path of the Buddha's Dharma. As I understand it, it's probably going to get worse and worse and worse, but you don't fix it. You just look at it. And then eventually you realize nothing was ever threatened because it was just consciousness only. Every tabletop, every sunrise, every moonbeam, if there is one, is not separate from anything else. Every blink of your eye, not separate from the sound of the toilet when you flush it. Not separate. Separated? That's why we take off and we pick and choose. We want this. We want that. The illusion of that. Me, the illusion of this wants that or doesn't want this. And we buy right into that soap opera of otherness. You don't have to do that. You can't stop doing it. But if you see it, it just stops by itself. When I say it stops, it may not go away, but it loses its intensity. You get to relax a little bit in the midst of the confusion. You get to see other people thrash at each other and go crazy. And if you have If they reach out a hand and say, help me, you might be able to help them. But if they don't reach out a hand, do not interfere with that cyclone. That's not a bodhisattva doesn't go into a burning house. They don't do that. Well, some people teach it that way, but I don't. I say fire's hot. Yes, Eugene.
Jishin bowing. Is receiving negativity like meeting our death? Bowing.
Yes,
Thank you.
welcome. Sir,
Milk bowing. Question from Gavin in Michigan.
Gavin.
Is self-sabotage a way of trying to stop the Dharma from coming to completion in a way I don't like? How should I work with that?
I think that's good. It's just the same Gavin that's on the screen here. Gavin, are you on?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Oh, yes, I'm right here.
Okay, thank you. So, I would say the way I'm understanding the question, if I'm not sure I'm really close to what you want to know, but I'd say, yeah, I would agree that that's probably what's happening there.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Milk bowing. Luis Miguel, I don't know if we've had him on here before.
Luis.
How are we not separate from what we perceive versus what we perceive being just insubstantial nonsense? Wow.
Same thing. Insubstantial nonsense in the highest form of wisdom and put out in words of not separate. They're separated, but they're not separate. Nothing is separate from anything else anywhere. You know, what came into my mind is a pile of banana peels. Is this if you stop protecting yourself from anything, then everything is available. You start having other people's feelings and emotions, and you won't mind. And it's not compassion. Compassion is not a feeling. Whereas things coming and going in your mind can have a lot of sharp edges or smooth edges to them, coming and going more.
Milk bowing. A question from Martine in Latvia.
Martine, I'll take your Martine's, and then I'll go to James. I'll go to your question next. So hang loose. Go ahead.
Can anyone realize Buddhahood? Wow.
Yes. Yeah, you can actually realize something that you already are. You already are Buddha. You're already awake. Nothing has ever slept anywhere. But it enters the illusion as these human forms enter the illusion. And are convinced of the illusion. But it's temporary. Nothing lasts. The only thing that lasts is that which has not appeared. What has not appeared? Buddhahood. Even Buddhahood doesn't appear. It can't appear because it's eternal. What has no time, is not caught in any kind of timescape or illusion does not come and go. Martine. Yes, James, go ahead. Make it a really simple one that doesn't confuse me.
James Bowling, is there a fear of not having suffering to play with in your life?
Yes. Yeah, I don't know if it would show up with that kind of a conceptual structure to it or understanding or display or description. But yes, there's sometimes the difficulty we're having, we use as a reference point. So we want the difficulty. So if things clear up, then other things can come in, other forms of the three poisons like boredom, which is basic ignorance. We get bored because we're not feeling the negativity we just fixed or got rid of or covered up. So this is why it's so important to just whatever arises, just receive it. Everything is preaching the Dharma, not separate, not separate, not separate.
Do people try to find a self in things because they're afraid of dissolving away and never coming back?
Yes.
How do you overcome the self-sabotage in meditation when you feel that fear?
Well, you can start by trying to overcome it, because that just creates a stronger ego, stronger person or being who's overcoming something. Just receive the failure that you can't overcome this. Receive it. This is a spiritual path, not a mundane path of accomplishing something. and getting a PhD in enlightenment. Although some people are doing that and
Okay.
they write books and tell you stuff.
Is that like someone that's in a crashing plane making, accepting death?
You're gonna have to paraphrase that or else restate it with a
Oh, sorry.
really sharp, clear tone of voice and very good
I was
pronunciation.
saying, oh, sorry. Is that like somebody who has accepted death as their plane is crashing headfirst into the ground?
Yeah, it's like, yay, this is over with, finally. I'm kidding a little bit, but it's like that. I think it's like the termination of something. Finally, I get to take a big, long nap. A little bit. I don't know. I don't want to get too cutesy about it. I don't mean to make light of someone who's having intense fear of death and their plane is about to crash. That sounds like a horrible situation to be in. Further question in here? Yes.
Sokuzan, in order to realize that nothing is threatened, do we need to look at or see what we think is threatened?
Probably will. We think there's someone here is threatened. We think that someone over there is threatened. It's quite convoluted or complicated in different ways, and we can spend a lot of time trying to figure out that big word that people use quite often. I just got to figure this out. So I would say, stop doing that. Stop, don't figure anything out. If you need logic, if you need reason, it will appear, but it needs to appear in the consciousness of which there is an intention to see what something is. Rather than as soon as you see what it is, and you see that you can't see what it is, start to apply logic or reason or figuring things out. That's just creates more circles. Not that that doesn't work to some extent in some cases. The very best thing is to intend to see what it is. And when you see that you don't know or you can't know or it doesn't make any sense, or there's just kind of an empty not knowing feeling there, receive that. That eventually, when I say eventually, I don't want to put some kind of a time situation on there, but you see that there never was anybody that was intending or looking. There are no separate beings. This is an illusion. It's just unreal. You don't care what happens next and why. Not because you don't care what happens next, because you're in the illusion. You see that there is a next and there is a past and a future, but you fundamentally realize there's no such thing. It's unreal. You are to use a really relative term, you are established in consciousness only. And nothing can stop that. It's called adamantine or Vajra. This is where the Vajrayana teachings come from, which you've been studying for quite a while. Indestructible. You can't destroy the truth. But it's necessary to realize it, something you've always known. Since what, beginning of time? There is no time. More? Take us further in there if you can.
Sokuzan, I guess I noticed that I do that sometimes. I look at what I think is threatened. So it could be just simple relative thing like if I don't take some action, I don't have money to support children, things like that.
Yes.
However, in that discovery, there seems to be a space enough for it to fall apart, which is kind of devastating. I guess I'm looking for a way to, I'm wondering how to work with that in a way that's helpful to people.
I think you're already doing it. You just aren't getting any credit for it. There's no credit. You will not get a credential. You'll not get a merit badge. You won't get, but you're already doing it. It just doesn't feel like it. Yes.
Sokuzan, so then that connects to another question about how do we see what this is when it seems like every thing that we're in contact with is against us seeing what this is. At the same time, it's preaching the Dharma. It's also your partner's against you, your job is against you. Being a Buddhist or
Yes.
when everything seems to be an obstacle to seeing what this is.
What do you need? What do you need? Do you need something? What do you need?
Nothing.
Good. That's how I know. I know that. I'm saying it's will not be comfortable. If you need the help of the Buddha's Dharma, return to the first noble truth, life is suffering. But it doesn't happen to an individual. It does for a while. And then people run away and cover it up or blame others or somebody hurt others to keep from suffering. But if you can just receive the suffering, no matter how stupid, crazy, and insane it is, just receive it. Obviously, you don't want to walk straight into the swinging fist or something like that. You can, it's fine, just keep your distance. But when it comes at you, chases you down, receive it as much as you can. And just by your statement, when I say, well, what do you need? I don't need anything. If you ask me what I need, I can say the same. I don't need anything. Well, don't you need to live? And I would say no. Well, what do you take medications for? Well, I don't need to live, but I'm not dumb. I'm not gonna deliberately stop taking insulin. Well, I've thought about it though, haven't I? Thought about it. Why would I want to keep going? Especially with so many people not wanting me to be around. Well, there's a few people that want me to be here and they ask me to be here and I intend to stay here for a while longer. Justine, any more? Any more from you? Any more from you? Oh, no, thank you. Justine.
Jishin Bowing. I actually have a question related to what Chokudawa just asked.
Yes.
Does karma intensify when we are committed on the path? Bowing.
More than likely it will. If I were to tell a little vignette or a little story about it, is that when you stop fighting everything that's appearing and you begin to practice receiving by practicing meditation practice, shikantaza, zazen, even creation completion practices, any kind of awareness practice, which you're actively working with trying to see what something is, then there's a lot of things that you've managed to cover up for the first 20, 30, 40 years of your life or whatever it may be for each person. That stuff, you stop covering it up. And you're saying to yourself or to others or to your teacher or to your community or maybe to your partner or maybe to nobody, you're just going to stop fighting with everything. You're going to see what this is. There have been artists, poets who have come to that kind of understanding. They want to see what this is. And sometimes that expression comes out in their creative activity. I'm not saying they necessarily realize their true nature, but they're probably not far away from it because they want the truth more than they want anything. They don't necessarily want to make a great poem or a great painting or a great novel. They just want the truth. They want to know the truth. What is the truth? So if some novels, you read some novels, you can feel it. There's some kind of progress happening there towards something that's ultimately important or truthful. It may not be the Buddha's Dharma, it may just be a lot of stories that tend to look very deeply into not only positive things, but negative things. The writings of Franz Kafka is very powerful if you've read any of that. They're not pleasant to read, but there's something about those that for that particular person, that incarnation, that particular lifetime, that person was about investigating what this was. Shows up there. There are other writers or artists, musicians, and so on that approach it a different way. There's no right way to do anything, including meditation. I'll take one more question, especially from someone who has not had a question yet, and then we'll close. There is one.
Yoka Bowing. It's another one from Lazaro in Portugal.
Wait, is there anyone else here who has a question? Okay, let's go ahead.
Yoka Bowing.
How do you spell that?
Lazaro.
That's a pretty cool name.
Similar to what it sounds. Yeah.
Go ahead.
Wouldn't you say that there is no
Wait.
source?
Wouldn't I say? Say. Yes, let's see wouldn't I say this?
That there is no source for exactly the same reason as there isn't anything that is independent of the processes by which we arrive at the conclusion of existence.
Okay, you asked for it. So the conclusion of existence is not dependent on the source-seeking aspect of consciousness that is arising in anyone's mind. Your mind or my mind are not two different things. And the space between your mind and my mind are unreal. So therefore, your ability to state something in such a very clear conceptual way, not a compliment, by the way, is completely vulnerable to the actual truth because you're continuing to structure things. Stop it. Sit down, hold still, do nothing but receive, receive. Stop producing. Well, you produce a little bit, but basically spend a lot of time just receiving what this is. Receive it. The very nature, I don't even know, need to even look you in the face, Lazaro. But I can see what part of the consciousness is causing you to do this. And it's your intelligence. It's not a good arm rest. Take your elbow away from that and just see the space that you've been trying to lean on. See it yourself. You can do it. Thank you so much.